and thank you so much for joining us. We have a very special guest that we're going to be have on our podcast today, and it's a subject that's near and dear to our hearts. We're talking about mental health, and some of just the questions that people are kind of maybe scared to ask when it comes to mental health and about therapy and counseling and why it's needed, what's beneficial in it. And so we just wanted to have this conversation at just an open dialogue with a trained therapist that has kind of seen it, done it, heard it all. And we just want to welcome you. And if you have maybe an opportunity to see a therapist, or you've never had an opportunity to do it before and you think maybe you don't have the resources, we're going to also just below have a link to some resources that if you need help getting into a licensed therapist, this group will help you do that, especially if you're walking through trauma and loss. And so we hope that this finds you well, and we hope that you get something out of it. Thank you for joining.
Well, hello. Welcome back to the Broken for Better podcast. Today, it is my privilege and my honor to invite a very special guest that we have in our studio, our house today. And she's a good friend of mine. She's become a dear, dear friend of mine. Her name is Kerri Timothy, and she is a licensed mental health therapist. And I know I did not get the title right, so you'll have to fix the title for me. But she's been literally just a godsend for me this past year, for our family this past year, as we've walked through the hardest season of our life. And so today we're just going to be talking a little bit about mental health. We're going to be talking about grief, trauma, just all the things. And so I don't know where you are today and what you're walking through, but we're just hoping that these words are going to be powerful and encouraging, and maybe give some insight for people that maybe have never been to a therapist before or been, a little fearful. So before we get started too much, Kerri, tell me how you decided that you wanted to be a therapist, and give me the actual title, because I know I just botched it, and I told you that I was going to do that. But
you were you're fine. So it's licensed mental health counselor, and then I'm a trauma certified therapist as well.
So how did you do
a
that?
life coach.
How did you get started, in doing that?
Funny enough, I in high school, I was one of the friends that everyone would just kind of come to and say, "I have an issue. Can you help me?" And I felt that I was able to give a lot of insight and get a lot of love to people and just kind of know what to say. And so I believe it was a gift that was given to me when I was even little. And being a peacemaker and being able to just console and love on people and encourage them has always been kind of something I've naturally been able to do by the grace of God, of course, because it's a gift. And so I love to pour into people. And then it just became something I knew I would do from being young, and all the stuff that I went through as a child and in my teenage years. And, I kept working through hard stuff. So counseling, seeing a counselor was a big theme in my life from when I was young all the way up to now. So it's always been something that I've invested into and been able to reap some amazing benefits and joys and just healing through it. So
yeah, I don't know how you do it. I mean, we marriage coach, but some of the things that you are walking through when you help others, they're just very heavy. They're very heavy. Some of them can be very, very heavy. And so I definitely feel like it's a gift, because I don't know how else you would be capable of doing it without having that, that supernatural just strength. But so what about for the person that maybe has never been to therapy, or maybe, you're a little scared of what that looks like. Maybe you've been even one time and you're like, I got nothing out of it. It didn't work for me. I didn't connect with my therapist. What would you suggest for that person that's kind of just a little intimidated by just even the word therapy? Like, I think when I originally thought of that word, as a younger person, I feel like, therapy felt like something that you needed when you felt like there was nothing else to turn to. But what would you say to that person that maybe has never tried therapy or, yeah.
Well, I believe everybody should try therapy because it is, but I get the idea that it's, is seen as spilling everything into someone's life that, or into the stranger,
Yeah.
that you've never seen or known before. And, trusting that that's a safe place. But, I'm one that always says, trusting and being able to vent out or be able to share your heart and share your struggles in a safe room where really this person doesn't know you from anyone. You could be telling them whatever you want to, and they still believe you and they still love you and they still encourage you and they want the very, very best for you. So it's actually just an honor and a great opportunity to be able to have somebody that is almost like someone who is going to constantly encourage. There's no negativity. It's always something that you're always going to be the very best person in the room that is, cherished. And who else? I mean, and I think therapy too, it's like, we're not here for you to dump all your junk onto and for you to feel like you're doing wrong in life. You come into the therapy office meeting someone who's going to stand by you and is going to hold on to you and hold on to everything that you have never been able to share and look at it as, you know what, we're going to work on this together and we're going to help you get to the place where you feel freedom and joy, where you can smile, where you can laugh again, where you can know that you are worthy and you mean something to this world and to yourself. And I think that it's not about uncovering junk and bringing shame to people. It's about uncovering shame and bringing joy to people and letting them know they're worthy. And so whenever I get new people that come in, they're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. It's my first time.
I'm pretty sure you heard that from me for like the first 2 months. So
yes. I think I've heard that a lot lately. It sounds like a lot of new people are actually coming into the office. So I'm like, you know what? That couch is yours. You can lay down. You can jump on it. You can, you can have the blanket. You can, hold the stuffed animal. You can even sit in this chair. This is your room.
Yeah.
This is your place. And I want you to feel like you're at home.
Yeah.
And to know that you will not be judged from the minute that you walk into these office doors to the rest of your life from me. I am not going to judge you. I'm going to love you.
Yeah.
And
help and give tools.
Right.
And
right.
I can definitely say that you've done that time and time again, and you'll do it again this Wednesday or Thursday with me again as we meet again. And I do have that little spot in the couch that I love to sit with, that blanket that I pull up and cuddle myself in. And it's a safe place to be able to be ugly if you need to, be angry if you need to, weep if you need to. Lord knows that couch has held a lot of my tears. I go through tissue box after tissue box in your office, but it's somewhere that, like you said, you can go and kind of let it all out. But for me, I think the thing that's been so cool is knowing that you are a safe place, but I also, have grown to love and trust you because your words are so powerful because of who you are. And so I think sometimes finding a therapist can be a little tricky. Thank God for me, I didn't, especially in the season I've been walking through, I don't think I'd have been capable of like doing the, little wheel of therapy. I don't think I would have been able to run the circuit, but I think I have heard, some of my friends have said, I didn't really connect, or I didn't feel like what would you say to that person that maybe has tried it, but then didn't connect with their therapist? In my perspective, and obviously I'm, removed and going and getting help from you. But from my perspective, I feel like it's kind of like a trial. Like you kind of got to go until you figure out who can. But what would your suggestion be to that? I don't know if it would be the same, or how many times would you give it a try, before?
Right. Yeah. I always say give it 3. So So give it 3 sessions. Unless the first session is just, it's just a no-go.
It's a
Like
nightmare.
you can almost vibe and feel that there's like a misdirect. There's no connection. You're not. I typically, as a therapist, and I encourage other people, there's usually an opportunity where you can do like a 20-minute free consult. So what I do is I do that with all of my clients first, and that way they can get to know my voice, get to know the way I talk, get to know kind of what I feel confident in, and then I get to know what their story is to make sure that I'm able to help them, because I think that's an important initial type of opportunity. That way who you're talking to, and you can kind of feel the connection. You can sense, okay, they get it or they don't.
Yeah.
And so I encourage everybody to do a 20-minute or a 15 consult. And as a therapist, if your therapist is not offering that, then you may want to go to somebody else, because the second that you sit in that office, that's the second step, right? The first step is just to be able to talk a little bit on the phone, make sure you want the therapist to know that they're 150% confident that they can help you, and that they are going to get what you're needing. And so if you don't get that from the therapist, then you're not going to want to sit and tell them anything.
Yeah, that's true.
You won't even talk, because I get that. So, but we will refer you. Like if I get somebody who says something to me that I'm not maybe an expert in, then I typically will know where to refer to. And a lot of us therapists have connections. I mean, we're mental health, we're in the mental health field, so we all love to love people and to help people. So our goal is to connect you into somebody who would best fit your needs and your story.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true, because you're already being so vulnerable, and it doesn't matter how great the trauma is, or the loss is, or the brokenness, wherever it is. Sometimes, Kurt and I both have gone to counseling and therapy multiple times throughout our marriage just to get checkups, and which has been a totally different experience than what you and I have broached together this last year. But going, even if it's something that now on this side for me feels small in comparison, it was still this like transition of, or this like giving of myself to this person to say, this is what I'm walking through, what tools can you give me to help get through this? And so you want to have that person that you feel like you can connect with, but that you can just be totally vulnerable with, because if not, you're really not getting to the heart of anything, and so for me, it's like, poor Kerri, I just bring all this stuff, and I'm like, this is where I'm at today. This is where I'm at this week. And, but you've really given me tools to, and spoken life into the lies that, I will grab hold of and still challenge those, which is so amazing. You don't just let me come and word vomit, although I do all over that teal couch, but you give me correction too, in a loving way, if it's not truth. What would your what would, when you're looking at some, we all go through seasons where we have great loss and sadness and despair and trauma. And, I know someone might be watching today, that might really be struggling with depression, and in a scary way, not even just, this is hard. And I think there's been moments throughout, I know there's been moments throughout this last year for me that I've had to make myself get out of bed, and I've had to make myself get the shower. And I tell everyone that my 2 dogs are like a godsend, because they make me get out of bed. Like they have to be fed, they have to be walked. And, and so I know that's just so minute, but there's seasons when you're fighting and battling depression, but then there's seasons when it can get really dark and really scary, and sometimes really quickly. And what what is your advice? How do you know the difference between I'm just sad or I'm really depressed? How do you dictate that difference? And what do you do to try to keep yourself from getting there, if that makes sense? What would your suggestions be to that person that might be watching, trying to decipher, man, how dark can it get? I don't know if I need help or not,
I think if you end up not knowing how to, like, if you get to a place where you don't know how to function, so if it's affecting you at work, it's affecting you at home, it's affecting you at school, it's literally where you can't think clear, you can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't, you hit this pit, and it's kind of like, I have no way of getting out of this. I think asking for help is probably the only way you will get better. And I know that we all go through life and go through hard times and go through challenges, and we have ups and downs, but there are times when you end up getting almost like, I always tell people in depression, it's like walking with weights on your shoulders and a dark cloud, and the cloud doesn't go anywhere. So you're waking up with it. You're feeling a heaviness. You're feeling despair. You can't think clearly. You can't concentrate. There's no hope. There's no peace. You question why you're even existing, and we don't want, and that's a state of mind. That's a state of mind. That's where you have to say, I'm scared.
Yeah.
I don't want to go any further. And don't ever think that a counselor, and this is important, don't think that if you feel suicidal, that we're not going to, it isn't that you're going to be directly Baker acted. And that's where a lot of people come in and they think, oh my gosh, if I tell my counselor or tell my friend or tell anybody that I'm suicidal, they're gonna put me in the psych center.
Yeah.
We get it. Therapists get it. Typically, all of us have felt like we don't want to be here anymore. I've had many a times in my life where I've not wanted to be here anymore. But we also know that, coming in and being able to love on you and being able to suggest, just talking to us, being able to unravel things, being able to let us tell you it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You can do this. You can. And giving you that safe space just to feel heard, just to feel embraced, and not to feel judged, not to feel condemned, not to feel like you made the biggest mistake in your life and no one's ever going to love you again. That's a lie. That is not okay to embrace. That's not fair to you. We all make mistakes. And so I think being sad and just knowing that life's hard, and yes, we're on a roller coaster ride. There's ups, downs, hills and valleys, goods and bads. Life is very, very challenging, and it's not easy, but we learn and we grow and we team together, and there is hope. And I don't want you to think that you can't have a non-judgy, open space for you to sit and cry and know that we're going to walk you through this together and we're going to get you where you need to go. And if it is to where you don't want to be here anymore and you are at a place, we do have to take means and we do have to get more intensive treatment and we do have to help you be in a safe place. But if that happens, we're going to walk with you when you're out of that, whether it's a hospital, whether, crisis intervention of some sort. We're not going to let go of you. We're going to connect into that place and say we want to help them the second they get out.
Yeah.
Because you're our heart investment,
Oh, I like that.
I love
our
my
heart
clients.
Investment. I love that.
I love them. I pray for them. They're my heart investments.
I can attest to that. My middle of the night text that I'll get from you when God lays you on my heart, I can definitely attest to that. you were talking about people coming, sometimes depression and stuff comes from loss, sometimes depression and shame and all of those things that kind of couple in, and those lack of hope come with choices that we've made that we just, we can't forgive ourselves for the things that we've done. And so, you were talking earlier, and, we say hurt people, but what's crazy for me is us being in ministry for so many years. I think, we were just talking about this yesterday with our kids. Like, people would ask us, hey, can you come and pray over my house? Because they somehow think that we are different because we're pastors. Well, we have the same ability to pray as they do, right? But we have the same we have the same hurt and the same struggles that anyone else has, as does a therapist. And so, you said something so interesting to me. You said, there's been many times in my life when I've struggled, with wanting to go on. There's been many times. And so I think the thing that's so beautiful in that is that God gives us that ability. And I know you've heard me say this multiple times this last year, but I feel like we're given two choices: to suffer or suffer well, right? We're in a broken world. We all have things that are thrown into our laps, or things that are taken from us, things that we must face that are hard. And so we have this choice: do we suffer or do we suffer well? And I think what's so beautiful about sitting on that couch with you is that you've taken the hurts that you've faced in life and you've chosen, I'm going to suffer well, and I'm going to love people well because of what I've walked through and what God's gotten me through. And so that's what, a really good, beautiful therapist is capable of doing, and saying, man, I've suffered, but I want to suffer well and help you now suffer well, and to give you the tools that helped me get through. Maybe it's not the person that's watching maybe isn't struggling with depression, but maybe you're watching and someone you love has walked through trauma, or you're scared for someone you love because you see them battling and you don't know that they're battling well, and you're scared for them, you're concerned for them. What advice would you give to that loved one? It's hard to know, like, when do you intervene? When do you not intervene? What are things that people say that are helpful when someone's in that scenario and not helpful? Because Lord knows I could write a book on things that people have said to us this year that have not been helpful. And I don't think it was spiteful or done from a place of wanting to be hurtful, but what would your advice be to that person that loves someone that's walking through a really, really hard, dark season? I know that's a heavy question.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's, I think there's just, oh gosh, I think people either get it or they don't. And I always say, when the person is the one in the trauma or in the pain, that you let them lead and you don't overstep boundaries and ask and pursue and pry.
Wait, say that again. What do you do, Kerri? What do you do? You let that person lead. I like that. Okay.
Yes. So, like, if they say, I need this, then I'm like, okay, you're going to have it, And if they say, I let them say what they need because it's their healing journey. If they don't say anything, if I'm in the office with somebody and it's 30 minutes of silence, no kidding, of just tears and tears. Oh, man. I sit back and I pray, and they don't even know it. And I love them, and I console with my eyes, and I hand them tissues or a blanket, and I just love them from a distance with a way that they know they're safe. And sometimes those are very long sessions because I want so much to just say something, but I know not my space. It's not my healing journey. It's theirs. And to love somebody through trauma and through heartache and loss, especially, you have to do you have to be silent, and you have to keep your ears and eyes open and let them lead. And they will tell you if they want to talk. They'll tell you what's rough. You may look at, pictures with them. You may not. So every person.
And it may be different from day to day.
So everyone is so different.
Yeah.
Too.
Just
So-
this week, I had days where I wanted to look at pictures and just laugh and smile. And then I had days where I was like, nope, don't show me a picture because it's so triggering and you just don't know. So it's so important to let that person lead. And, you know, from a marriage perspective, and I know that's what we normally are talking about on this podcast, that's something we've even had to grow in because me and my husband have grieved very differently. But giving each other that space to not expect the other person to feel or respond or act like I'm acting, because not only is he grieving differently, he's also grieving differently on different days. So he may have a day where he's, you know, just this morning, literally, he was being strong for me, you know, as I walked through, you know, a dream or whatever. And tomorrow it might be him, but it's this balancing act of just giving, not even trying to fix the other person, but giving them the space they need to say, okay, I'm sorry you're having that kind of day. Or, man, I'm excited that you're having that kind of day. Realizing tomorrow might be another down day, you know, and there's no right or wrong. There's no ruler to kind of to measure by. And realizing that you can look back and go, oh, wow, there was growth. Because when you're in those really dark, cloudy, weighted days that just feel overwhelming, you can feel like I'm back to square one. I've gone nowhere. I'm back to square one. It's so hard. It's not worth it. And then you got to look, but how far have you come? Look at where you are. And you've been teaching me that. You've been teaching me that for sure. So how long does someone go to therapy? You may have me forever, Kerri. I don't know, but how do you know? And again, there's a lot of factors that play into that because it could be a matter of, you know, finances. There's a lot that plays into that, obviously. But how do you know, like, okay, I'm good. I can take a break from therapy right now. And is that something that the therapist and the person should like lead together? How do you know? How do you know? And is there any way to know? Is there any way to know? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Is there any way to know the, you know?
Yeah. I think therapy is an art. So I was going to tell you this at the beginning earlier from one of the questions and just slipped my mind. But you literally have no idea what you're getting yourself, really what either one of you are getting yourself into. So when you sit and you listen and you learn, it's putting a bunch of pieces of a puzzle together to give that person and to give that family system the very best, healthiest perspective of life and of growth and of hope and just togetherness and unity. And I think you know, so that's the one thing is starting this off with therapy is definitely putting it together. Now, because I've been in the field for a while, I would say it's changed.
Yeah.
So now, and that's the people will be like, well, what is your theory on therapy? And I was like, well, about 8 different ones. Which one do you know, because it depends. I mean, you could be somebody that comes in and doesn't want me to give you homework. Or you could be begging for homework. I need things to do, you know.
Yeah.
And so, like, you could be in a phase of trauma. You could be somebody who just needs to be affirmed and encouraged and validated. So you build your confidence. Like there's just so many different perspectives at this point. So, and when we're moving out of, you know, when I spend that time, which it could be 3-6 months. 2 years sometimes. I mean, I'm getting people that I've seen 10 years ago pop back in and go, Kerri, I need some encouragement, suggestions. And, you know, I just got married or we have babies now and life's different. And I know that you helped me when I was, you know, a young teen and I'm wow. You know, it's so exciting to celebrate those victories with them, but also those new, you know, transitional periods of, I'm in another situation and dynamic and I need support. I need to know how best to do this. And, you know, so we work together again. So I think it's kind of an organic process of bringing people in, and then when we sit together and we realize we're sitting there and laughing about, silly things,
Yeah.
puppies and vacations and things that we're just, it's not really about therapeutic work.
Right.
We both go,
Okay,
maybe
it's
I think
time.
you're ready. Yeah. Maybe it's
it's
becoming
time.
more of a coffee meeting, not therapeutic as much. So,
Yeah.
and, but I never just say, I don't want you to come back. I say, there's always a space for you.
Yeah.
And I also transition them out. So I'll go, let's go, a couple weeks. I think you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're like, I think I am too. And sometimes they're like, oh,
Really?
am I? So, and then maybe a month, and then maybe 3 months, 6 months, and progress them out to see how they're doing. So I'm very, I don't like to just say, okay, we're done. Bye.
Yeah. No, thank goodness. And she hasn't transitioned me out yet. She's like, no, you're not ready. It's okay. I'll keep meeting with you. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Poor Kerri. So what would you say to the person that maybe has struggles with different religious beliefs than you? Do you think that that certain therapists can only treat certain people? Do you see that as like a stepping or a hindrance or like a roadblock to getting answers? Because that's such a fine line with like
Yes.
Having a similar worldview and making sure that you align with those things. So how I know that you are willing to meet with anyone, but how would you say that plays a role in getting help that actually kind of sticks, and the tools that what would your advice be to that?
So I am willing and open to see anybody and everybody, and I go from ages 6 up to 95, whatever you need. And when I became a counselor, and decided this was the career, one of my, I think, decisions was to not have any kind of not deny anybody from coming in.
Yeah.
And I knew that was a call. I knew that was a specific calling on my life. Like, God, open your door to people.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Regardless. And it was interesting because I did go. I went to Liberty. That's where I got my counseling. And it's a Christian university.
Right.
And but the beauty of it is that they taught you, the Christian route of,
right.
Biblical, and then also those who don't know the Bible, or don't want to believe, or been hurt by the church, or been hurt by, people in life, in a religious aspect.
Correct.
So,
which happens
yes.
a lot.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And so it's been so beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful because of that position of where I've placed, the populations that I'll see, the different people that I'll see.
Mm-hmm.
It's been such an honor to learn all the different religions, to learn where people are with their sexual identity, where people are with divorce versus not divorce, where people are with political beliefs. And I can tell you, they know when they come in, one office is at Grace Family Church in Land O'Lakes, which is a church.
Right.
Yeah, there's definitely scripture up on the wall. So
I've been to that office too, guys. I've been anywhere she'll meet with me.
Yes. And so it's kind of, but I'll have people come in and of different faiths, wearing different outfits, being of different, beliefs. And some don't know God. Some have no idea, what they want to believe.
Right.
And, some people are the ones that have been persecuted by the church. Some of them just walk different ways of, and they'll come to Grace Family.
Yeah.
And I'll be like,
really
brave and courageous.
Yeah.
But because of the love of the church, of that
Right.
specific church especially,
Yeah.
I think that people know that there's an open invitation.
It's safe.
And I stand by my beliefs.
Yeah.
I stand by my beliefs. They know.
Yes,
they
you do.
and so they'll
Yeah.
come in, but I tell them that this is why I believe this.
Right.
This is why I love the Lord. This is why I love Jesus. This is, why I'm a Christian. I just want you to know. So
Yeah.
they do know, but they also know that they're going to be loved regardless.
Yeah.
And that they're not going to be judged, and that they can be what they need to be to heal.
Mm.
And it's accepting, and it's just what we should, in my personal belief, I think counselors should provide that.
Mm.
I have people that come in and that have been hurt by Christian counselors.
Yeah.
Like, guys,
Yeah.
we are here. We sign up to do this, to help people, to help people grow, to help people heal, to help people survive this crazy world.
Right.
Not to ever, ever, ever be condemned.
Love, grace, right?
Yes, love, grace.
Love and grace.
So
It goes a long way. It's like almost like what he commanded. And so,
yes.
yeah. What the thing that has been really interesting to me working from, inside the walls of the church has been some people's perspective on not needing counseling or not needing therapy because of thinking, why did you pray?
Mm-hmm.
Did you somebody in the background was laughing. did you not pray? Why do you need therapy? Did you not and it's crazy to me because the word literally says to seek wise counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
if his word says to seek wise counsel, I don't understand that concept. And I'm sure as a therapist, you've probably, I don't know. I don't know if people would be bold enough to even say those things to you or, be like, oh, really? You're a Christian therapist, So,
Yeah.
but I know that I've heard that. I've heard people say, well, why would you need therapy if you have Jesus? So what would you say to that person that would say, why would you need therapy if you have Jesus? What would you, and you can say anything on here. It's a free forum. So what would you say, Kerri?
Well, I would kind of say, Jesus gave me the tools to help you and, and just speak into your life, because that's why we're here.
Right.
That's why we're a family of God. That's why there's gifts and that I'm an instrument that he uses to help channel some things in your life that you're
Right.
struggling with. And I will pray for you.
Mm.
I will pray with you. I will trust God with you. I will speak into your life
Yeah.
the truth of God. But we need support.
Right.
And I think that if I was to look at a different perspective of this, I would say that people who aren't referring out, especially being in the church, are stepping outside I feel like they're holding a position that they're not qualified for and that they're not trained for. I wouldn't go be a pastor of a church because I'm not trained. I would sit up there and be like, I love you. You're amazing.
Wow. That was very, very, very deep what you just said.
So-
That was very deep.
We need each other, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you talk about that church hurt that comes through your door often, we had a young man in here recording with us just a couple of weeks ago that was very vulnerable and transparent, talking about, the people just saying, well, have you prayed? Have you this? And so there can be, when you're walking through something that's so traumatic and so hurtful, however big or small, you need someone that has the ability to speak to it, that's trained, that has the tools. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I've this last year learned to wake up and say, God, here I am. Like, take me. That's about the depth of some of my prayers.
Mm-hmm.
That's about as much as I can garner some days. It's just, here I am. And so he gives people tools to love on those that are walking through experiences. And so when you walk into an office and you're literally just saying, okay, God, help me, help this person, help me.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. And there's beauty that can really come from that. We've had so many people this last few months, especially since we've been, a little bit stronger to step outside the walls of this house and minister some, say, oh, how are you this strong? How are you? It's a day by day journey. And you're literally saying, okay, I'm going to suffer well today. And that's all you can do. That's all you can do is, this or that. And, his word says that we'll overcome by what? The blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so you take these hurts to a counselor, especially one that you've grown to love and trust. They give you the tools to then step into that and be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So as we close, if there's anything that you would want to say in closing to anyone that might be watching, anything that we talked about today, or just something that you're like, whoever's watching, I just want you to know this. Do you have anything you would want to close to say to anyone that might be watching?
Wow. That's a big question for me because I love to encourage. I think that everyone deserves to be heard, and that you are loved regardless, that your past doesn't define you, that what people say, how they criticize, regardless of what age you are, you deserve to be heard and encouraged and supported. And I'm a big, I feel that it's important to know that regardless if you've been in the position of being abused or being the abuser in the scenario, you are covered with grace. And I would never condemn you if you have been in a position of hurting others because you've been hurt. And grace, God's grace is sufficient to cover that. There's nothing that can take away how much He loves you. And it's important that we, as a family of God, that we lift each other and encourage and love on each other. And regardless of other people's faith or the way people, view the world, we are still called to love. And I am so glad to have this opportunity because I just love to speak that into people's lives and to know that there is nothing that there's nothing that you've done that God can't overcome. Nothing. And thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very
Awesome.
much. No, you're awesome.
No,
can you
you're
tell we
awesome.
love each other? We have a very healthy relationship. She helps me a lot. Thank you so much just for joining us today. We are honored. We're going to be praying for people. If you have something that you're walking through, and you need help, we just want to encourage you to be bold enough to get help. Be bold enough to ask. Be bold enough to schedule that appointment. Be bold enough to let other people love you well, no matter what you're walking through, no matter where you are. And we just want to say thank you so much for joining. Check out the website, brokenforbetter.com. It's all up and ready, and we have different links on there. And then also check out Empowered Path Counseling if you are local. If you're local, and I know that they do some virtual stuff too, correct?
Yes.
If you're not local, but Empowered Path Counseling. Is it empoweredpathcounseling.com? Is that the actual website? Okay.
Yes.
So check that out. And get help. Get the help you need. You are worth it. And God loves you. Thank you for joining us.